Heroes of the Storm. Play free and experience the new StarCraft-themed battlegrounds. Rated T for Teen.
2-0 lead here for Naventic so far, but it's a best-of-7 series. And imported support, they've got to rally together and bring it back.
They definitely do. I think this heavy priority towards Genji is not something that we saw from them, I don't think, ever. I mean, it's not to say that they didn't play it, but this is nowhere near looking like the team that we saw just a few weeks ago. I want them to get back to just keep it simple, keep it standard. They had a high priority in their last few weeks on Tychus and on Greymane to carry that damage on the back line. Right. And then we saw Crux play just solid heroes on the front line. Just give me something normal for one game. Try it against Naventic, see how it works for you.
And it's not like Genji isn't like going to be normal. He's still kind of not fully figured out. And there were so many moments, even in the games earlier in Europe, where it felt like Genji was just bullied away. Has to kind of hang out, wait for that moment. His poke isn't really that substantial because his damage comes in when he's finishing off a target, when he's diving forward, throwing in the 3 shurikens on a single unit. That's when he really adds up and becomes the big threat.
But he got countered hard.
Oh, yeah.
Like, everything about that. B-Kid landed his Stormbolts. We saw the Twilight Dream lock him down. You said you can't get out if you're silenced. You also can't get out if you're dead. I mean, it just got exploded, right? So it's kind of that thing is that it's weird to be hyper-aggressive for a team that was known for just taking the standard approach to what they know. Right. And now they're trying something that we just haven't seen. It's a best-of-7. And if you want to just keep it weird and go Cho'Gall, then by all means go that route. But go play to your strengths. Don't try and take the fight to Team Naventic, because if you try and fight them the way that we've seen them try already, you're gonna end up falling short. It might look good at times, but this is not a team that you just come up and you're like, you know what, we're gonna be aggressive. We're gonna bully you. That's not gonna happen.
Well, let's find out what battleground we are going to for game number 3, and it's looking like Sky Temple. Naventic's pick.
Naventic's pick. Sky Temple, again, another large battleground. We've seen them pick 2 times the only global in the game now. Yep. With Dahaka. Zuna is 2 for 2 on Dahaka. He seems to really like him so far. We've seen great follow-up, great synergy from what they've managed to pull, but we'll find out what they want to do here in game number 3.
Heroes like Abathur, Zagara come to mind as potential picks here for this map. Even in Open Division, one thing that we've started to see on Sky Temple a lot more commonly is Mule. And it does draw the games out a little bit longer, but it also creates more opportunities to find your way back, right? So imported support with that first pick, first ban, since the map was chosen by Naventic.
So we saw imported support in their second ban on Battlefield of Eternity take out Zeratul from the draft. And I can tell you that with absolute certainty that Naventic loves playing Zeratul on this battleground. He has much more angles to come in for VP. You have much more angles to try and get on somebody. You also have the ability. I actually like this. I actually like this. If you're going to target one person on the other team, you say Murd, B-Kid. B-Kid, B-Kid, B-Kid. Force him onto something else. The only thing is, either you take Varian or you give up Varian, because that's kind of B-Kid's fallback option. Arthas, at times in the secondary role, was played by Azuna.
He's really fallen off, though.
Yeah, I mean, you can't target Tom, so you're not going to target Biggie. You're not going to target Zuna. The support pool is too deep, so go for who you think has a shallow hero pool. And right now, they're looking square at B-Kid and saying, play something else.
Okay, first pick. Can't go Cho'Gall. You only got one option, so that's not happening here. Could see the Ariel, and the Ariel could put some fear into Naventic that Cho'Gall is a thing.
But Sky Temple, they'll just get out-macroed. They'll get out-macroed, man.
We've seen weirder things, though.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So I'm okay if they want to go early Greymane. I mean, it's one of your strengths. It's something that you've played a lot of. It's something that you've shown you've had success with. And Greymane is by far a first rotation hero.
Yes.
He is dominant, and he's never, it's really hard to see him as bad. They go Cassia instead. Not a bad hero either.
Not at all. Cassia really rising up, becoming more and more popular. One of the only heroes that we see that's, you know, auto attack focused, right? She's even more popular than Vala nowadays because of her abilities to be so strong versus those anti-auto attack heroes, but Naventic.
Zuna's like, wait a minute, I get it this time? Thank you. Again, when it comes to heroes that have skill shots that require them to prioritize more of the backline as opposed to the front line, Genji and Zeratul and those hyper-aggressive heroes that can flank and also have the escapability, those heroes excel on Sky Temple. And so you can take angles and do things like that. Ariel, Zarya, though. The added support with the shields.
Yep, Ariel, Cassia, big generator for that energy.
That's your 3-man. You send Cho'Gall elsewhere.
They ban it. They ban it. They are not taking the risk. It's a composition where it is theoretically possible. I don't know who would solo lane, but...
Who cares? Who cares? You just send Cassia off. You keep Zarya and Ariel with Cho'Gall. You just stack hope. You got shields for your backup option. I mean, that is how... Again, if you miss the playoffs of the Open Division, you miss. And it's not like they just came out and it was an accident. No. It was very deliberate and very dominant from imported support. They're forcing out the ban.
The Rune Bomb, that one game, we saw the Rune Bomb just get stronger. It travels faster. It travels farther. And it was just destroying kids left and right. So I hope we get to see it in this series, but Chromie's going to end up being the ban here, considering, you know, there's no Anub. They probably don't want to run Tyrael with what they have right now. Don't want to have to worry about that huge spell damage coming through onto a hero like Cassia.
Yeah, and the thing, if you think about it, is that if you have Genji on the backside, he can basically rotate around, get poke, and it's really hard to get damage onto it, Genji. We see Gul'dan being picked up, but at the same time, you run into Ariel. If they're not doing damage and you're poking from afar with a Chromie, you are not building hope, and you're just taking damage. Zarya shields are only going to be able to absorb so much. You can't exactly see them coming. However, on the flip side, Gul'dan actually does really well. I talked about Li Ming into a Zarya because it's predictable damage. Gul'dan has more of a sustained poke damage.
Yeah.
With his Spell Flame, so does a little bit better against Zarya if you're talking about using a mage.
Yeah, get the additional size in the Spell Flame, and once you have that, I mean, you can just poke so safely.
Especially Cassia. I mean, it's Cassia's shorter range. It's 4. Your general auto attacker is going to be at 5.5, so very susceptible to taking that poke.
I don't even know what the rest of this composition is going to be, but if you go Echo to Corruption versus a hero like Cassia and she has to dance around in that, it actually can be tons and tons of damage. Going Tyrael, trying to get some more frontline in there. That'll be their double warrior. Lots of sustain. Tyrael, Zarya, Ariel. What's their big damage to go with the Cassia? How do they get their kills?
I mean, think about it. Johanna against Cassia, you're just going to blind the auto attack hero. So do you go into some mage damage here? Instead, they're going to go triple warrior and rely solely on Cassia for that damage. And I am not... Zarya's going to have to get real beefed up. And again, against the Gul'dan and against the Genji, your opportunities for getting that energy are not going to be as frequent as you hope. And speaking of hope, if you're not doing damage,
you're not getting
if you're blinded as Cassia,
Ariel.
you're not getting energy as Zarya, you're not feeding Ariel much there. I mean, I do like the fact that they have some global control. Instead, they're going to put Genji. I wonder if that's going to be Tomster on Genji. I was a little bit surprised because I kind of figured Genji would be Zeratul hero. But, excuse me, Genji was going to be Zuna's hero. They both start with Z, man. It's the same thing. They both start with Z.
Same unit. Zuna, Zeratul,
one and the same. Zagara, Zul'jin. They're actually the same people, same hero.
I agree. I think it's going to be Tomster on the Genji, Zuna on the Zeratul.
I want to see that. Tomster is...
I mean, we've seen him recently on even like Tychus, a really uncommon hero for most teams. But when he's on Tychus, he just shreds kids left and right.
But, again, Genji and Zeratul... You're relying on Gul'dan to be your main consistent damage.
Yeah.
And then I haven't seen this yet. I haven't seen Zeratul and Genji on that back line. Zeratul starts it. Genji finishes it. Because Zeratul, post 7, just stays on people.
Yeah.
Although we've seen Zuna go a few, I don't want to say questionable builds, just different builds that don't necessarily have the same effect as other ones.
Right. Well, we're going to see VP. My question is, will it be Dragon Blade or X-Slash paired with that? Because, like, there's obviously...
X-Slash has priority targets, but again, you run into Zarya shields, Crystal Aegis.
Right.
But VP into X-Strike, why not? Let's go.
It could be hyper.
Let's go.
Bringing that samurai power, ninja power, excuse me, of Genji. No, this is going to be an interesting game number 3. I mean, Dahaka, that last rotation does give a global to imported support. And you can never count that out. Having that global for your team, having, you know, yes, his lane clear isn't what it once was, but it gives you extra opportunities to find more XP for your team. Push things in. Late game can be absolutely huge for your team as well. And they're very, very tanky. So we're going to get going onto Sky Temple for game number 3. Naventic, they're up 2-0. Imported support, they need your energy to bring it back in this series.
Jake, you used the keyword energy. Now we're going to see Naventic here on the left side in blue, but when we see the other side, it is going to be B-Kid on the front line. Let's see who's Zuna will be on Zeratul. Again, like I said, they're the exact same, which means Tomster will be on Genji, and this is something I want to see. When it comes to those high skill cap heroes, Tomster is no slouch when it comes to that. But more importantly, energy. Will we see that strong 3 to 4 man push when you have the Zarya, when you have the Ariel, and you have a Cassia, the auto attack hero? Will they try and push in a lane early? I think they've got to. They're already posturing.
They tried it last time, and Zarya just got popped right out of the gates. But there's no Murd into Haka to challenge that Zarya with that kind of CC this time around. So maybe they'll be a bit safer in doing so. Ignition walking straight up. Corruption used to scout that bottom lane. And they immediately retreat back. They do not want to take the risk, even though it's just a 3v3. They do not know that right now. Zeratul, Genji, lingering near the watchtower in the middle of the map.
And Zuna is going to go ahead and blink away as he gets temporarily locked down, but we are seeing Vorpal Blade at 1, not going into that Q build. Sometimes if you're lacking a little bit of wave clear, you'll go that route. Johanna and Gul'dan should do fairly well on that, but it did send Zeratul to the top momentarily.
Once again, we're seeing Genji v Dahaka. And yes, it's swap sides this time around. Still an interesting matchup for that. Zarya does not have the self-shield, does get body blocked in by Zuna, and that's going to be a super easy kill for Naventic.
Zuna sees Cassia and Ariel. It's like, look, y'all look good, but I'm just going to walk right past you. I know you can see me. I know that you're going to reveal me. But the minute that shield pops, Zarya's going down. He literally walked between them without a care in the world. Walks up, it's like, all right, free kill. Kill number 1.
And that's just knowing your limits. I mean, Zuna just, you know, casually strolled in and said, what are you going to do?
All right, first temple phase is here as we see early channel here on the side of Naventic. Johanna going to do really well to help control around those. Zuna continues to get revealed there as Ignition just trying to pop those. Did go particle grenade build at level 1, so stacking those for the quest.
Now they're trying to force this fight because they do have the global of Dahaka on their side. They can make it a 4v5. Roots thrown in place, not going to get any value right there, and it does go a bit shrine control in the mid tower or mid temple in favor of imported. Now Genji on the rotation, forcing that brush stalker in, but Dahaka going to be isolated here. You do see the roots are still available. Will they even connect? No, but Malfurion Kenma steps too far forward, gets blown up. First blood here on the side of Naventic, or for imported support right in that moment.
That's exactly what imported support needed. Yes, they lost that pick earlier, but if you're looking to gain some semblance of control in this game, again, we're not seeing a Loon's Grace again. It is back in to the Broccoli build that we know, which is just more damage. It's not common, and positioning is kind of why you take a Loon's Grace. Better positioning on your basic abilities means that you can play at a safer range.
Yeah.
Instead, we see Kenma step up and get blown up right there on the temple.
Blown up. It's the riskier call. It's a confident call in some regards, but risks can be problematic at times. You do see the mid watchtower being attempted to be stolen by Zuna, who will be able to grab that boat. Dahaka's back down in the bottom lane, getting that global soak for his team. Rush Talker should be available, and they have reclaimed the top temple. Very even overall in the charges for either side.
Yeah, they're doing really well to control the battleground this early. Dahaka's coming up. We're going to see if he can get a grab onto somebody here. Nice roots are going to be there. Going to go ahead and burrow.
Okay. Moving forward, gets the drag in onto Johanna. Hard target to kill. Ironskin comes out, but nice detainment strike onto Zuna. Big focus. Big E becomes the next target, and the kill is there. Cassia just popping off right now. Imported support is looking like a different team, Jay Howe.
This is exactly what we know out of them. The aware on Ariel, making plays. We saw the detainment strike onto Zeratul, prioritizing resources differently. So you can see that this is the imported support that we know. They've built themselves a little bit of a lead. They've gotten most of the first 2 temples. And with Dahaka being in that bottom lane for an extended period, just have found themselves a little bit of early game control. They're not out of the woods by any means.
Wow, and Zeratul, Zuna going down.
That'll help.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Now, basically the biggest difference that we're seeing right now is big control in the front line and the pressure from Tyrael, Dahaka, Zarya, and then Cassia just able to flank super effectively. The counter flank right now is Zeratul. Zeratul is going in with Genji, but Cassia she lives through so much of that. You've got Ario for the big heals behind it, generating insane energy for the team.
The thing I think that worries me is that you're looking at Genji talents, level 4. We only have 12 stacks, and they've been at level 4, and now they're at level 7, so they've been here for a handful of minutes. Hasn't exceeded too well in that. Zeratul now has Seeker in the Dark, so he'll be able to hop on a target with a Singularity Spike. It gives them some control, but the early aggression from a Genji and a Zeratul is not really there. For Zeratul, it's more post 7 because it allows you that flexibility, that mobility to get in and get out, instead of just walk in, and then Genji needs that extra damage to really be effective. Is Kenma contemplating Mule?
I think so.
I mean, what do they have to fear?
I think so.
A tongue?
Even then, the moment you don't grab something like Cleanse, you could see something like Judgment happen. I don't think it's the optimal call. They already tried playing it once.
That could be the ultimate waiting. You just wait for imported support to get 10. It goes Cleanse.
It goes Cleanse.
I don't blame him.
It's a good map for Mule, but if you lose the team fights, Mule's not going to help you anyways.
All right, imported support, mixing things up with Dahaka. We are seeing basic attacks reduce Drag's cooldown by 2 by picking up Feeding Frenzy. That is not something we ever see.
Dude, Swabs is going to get the kill here. Zuna overstaying his bounds. Lagif indeed there in the top lane.
Was he baited in by that talent? He's like, there's no way he has this again.
Maybe.
Gonna be having to check some talent trees while you're sitting there in the Hall of Storms waiting to revive.
Well, good control here. Level 10 has been locked in, so that means that Naventic cannot challenge. Imported support getting control of this second temple phase in its entirety and getting some good structured damage on the board.
Imported support has built themselves a lead, Jake. They are holding the Tyrael again. I do not want to see Judgment. While it has pros, we're looking at Expulsion Zone, Sanctification that can be used when it comes to those late game, potentially desperation boss calls, desperation team fights that you have to take. And if it's involved in just diving in.
All right, good adaptation here in the top lane, though. Swabs Nagu is going to be able to heal through a lot of this, but the rotation is not coming. He's just backing up while they push in on the mid. Good sustain there, the power of Dahaka. But back on the point you were saying, things like Judgment doesn't get picked up here. That's a good thing.
That was broccoli value. He hit the tongue, but it hit the broccoli, and it's like he could have drug him into that. It wouldn't have got the kill.
Now we know. Now we know.
That's the true value. That's the true value. Blocked skill shots.
Well, Imported still have that level lead. Pretty much standard heroics across the board, what you'd expect. Dragon Blade over X-Slash. We were talking about that in the draft. You set up the big VP. Dragon Blade during a massive Horrify that might come through could just, wipe the board.
You got to be careful, because if you try to use a Dragon Blade on somebody like Cassia, she pops her ball lightning on you, and all of a sudden you need to stay in range, she needs to stay in range, and you got to get out, because that ball lightning does a serious amount of damage if it continues to bounce back and forth.
Well, good safe play here, just kind of scouting around. Let's take a look at the talents. Any crazy builds going on?
Yeah, I think other than the Feeding Frenzy, because that is not something we see that often. Everything else pretty standard. Outside of the Gul'dan level 4, everything pretty standard across the board. Only 30 stacks, still waiting on that completion of the level 4, at least the first part of the completion for Genji.
It helps, though. Every bit helps. Naventic now looking at the boss. Big half required to rotate here. Good old Druid's Might, they bait out the Twilight Dream, and they still have a lot in their arsenal. No Blessed Shield available either. 5-3 heroics with the boss just about down, and everyone here on the side of Naventic are on the wrong side of the fight. This could be bad. Horrify is attempted. The VP is thrown out, but the boss has been picked up. A specialty being focused down here. Lazuna has to blink over the wall. The boss going to keep them secluded. Tomster has the jump to retreat. Crux looking to keep the engage on, but it looks like they'll be able to escape, excluding Kenma.
This is a completely different imported support from the first 2 games. They have the Expulsion Zone. They have a lot of that. Zuna!
All right, he's going to be able to slip into the shadows like Zeratul does best, but Dahaka's already up top.
Dahaka's going to be up top. They should be able to get value out of the bottom temple. Kenma will be reviving here momentarily. They're trying to get a little bit of push. Now, they're going to get both temple values. Both forts should fall. All of theirs are still standing. They have a talent tier advantage. They have a 2-level lead advantage. With no boss on the board for another handful of minutes, you now assume control of this game in a pretty substantial fashion.
Well, this is the best thing they can hope for. Talent advantage, big 2-level lead, basically 3-level lead. Dahaka can get away from just about anything. Like, yeah, Zuna's going to put on some good pressure here. Should have some essence in the bank.
He doesn't have adaptation. Nice dodge of the blasted shield, but he's taking a lot of damage.
Well
Essence,
played
though.
from Swabs Magoo. Essence and well.
Timing.
And what do they get out of this? Look at this bottom keep. They get the last shots from the temple, and they are already postured with a wave of minions to tear it down. If they get a keep 10 minutes into this game versus Naventic, that is the biggest win you could hope for, because keep is the game-winning lane. That's the lane the boss lives in.
It opens it up. I mean, they're going to poke it down a little bit. Again, you can wait for the next temple phase, especially if it's the bottom temple, the next one. I think it probably wouldn't be. Krug's taking a bit of damage. The Horrify has been used. Nice Crystal Aegis. We're going to see if he can keep him alive, as VP is now isolated. Sanctification forced to be used.
Unfortunately, the brush that was available is pretty far back. Kenma does end up falling to that bouncing ball of death that Specialty has as Cassia. And now they are sieging up with these giants. Big shields coming in from Tyrael. Crux diving deep, looking for Big E, but he has the health stone to stay alive a little bit longer. Zuna, however, cannot live from the onslaught of Cassia. They get Zera in the back, and just like that, they are starting on the core.
This is a tough call. It's early, but they have a 3-level advantage. The shield's starting to fall. Thompson doing everything he can to keep them off of it. Unable to do the damage. Cassia on that backside. Shields are gone. Health is starting to fall. And now we see Specialty take down Thompson.
Oh my goodness, the Ventic. They really just trashed Imported in game in 1 and 2, but they kept their composure. They brought it back with a dominant 3-level lead in game 3 in an 11-minute victory.
If you're looking to make a statement, say, look, we know that we lost the first 2 games. You just come right back and you're like, we can do it better. And they, not only was it a map pick for Naventic, but I got to question the Zeratul Genji. This is 0-3 for Genji so far.
Feels bad, man.
3-0 for Dahaka.
And he's got to take some Genji notes from Europe, I guess, because yeah, he's not having a good day here in North America. But wow, that, like we said, just everything from the positioning, the way that we're seeing everyone inside of Import support control the battlefield, flank appropriately, punish here like Kenma, punish Gul'dan. It wasn't just one member on Naventic that was finding themselves out of position due to the way that Imported was rotating in the battles.
There comes a moment to where the team fight's gone, right? If somebody dies, you walk away. Naventic doesn't know how to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
That fight was over. Everybody left. And Kenma walks up. That's cool, and then you die. And I'm like, that is 0 value.
Jay,
you like my animations?
You would make a beautiful Moonkin. I just want to let you
I'm
know.
working on the cosplay any moment, the minute I get out of here.
Please,
but either way,
please.
Either way, that moment, it's irrational. The fight is over. You come out of the VP, and everything's gone. Your team has already retreated. And at that moment, and I hate to say that it's one person's death that loses you the game, but that staggers death, that gives you your support drops, and all of a sudden it's much more difficult to defend that. And that was the moment. If you're going to make a slip up, don't make that one, because then everything snowballs out of control and you lose the game. It's not solely on him, but that is a decision you cannot make.
No, it hurts, but Imported played very well. We have ourselves a series, a best of 7 at that. We'll be back with Game 4 in just a few.
Keep him alive as VP is now isolated. Sanctification forced to be used.
Unfortunately, the brush that was available is pretty far back. Kenma does end up falling to that bouncing ball of death that Specialty has as Cassia. And now they are sieging up with these giants. Big shields coming in from Tyrael. Crux diving deep, looking for Big E, but he has the health stone to stay alive a little bit longer. Zuna, however, cannot live from the onslaught of Cassia. They get Zera in the back, and just like that, they are starting on the core.
This is a tough call. It's early, but they have a 3-level advantage. The shield's starting to fall. Thompson doing everything he can to keep them off of it. Unable to do the damage. Cassia on that backside. Shields are gone. Health is starting to fall. And now we see Specialty take down Thompson.